Now, Illinois Congressman and veteran of the Afghanistan and Iraq War, Congressman Adam Kinzinger. Congressman, what went into the delay? We, of course, don't know what went into the swap and why we did it, especially in light of what's been come to light about Bo Bergdahl. But what went into the delay?
Well, look, I think the White House and Qatar are basically trying to negotiate what's the long term for these folks. I mean, look, at the end of the day, a year. So, we did the trade and said they have to stay in Qatar a year. And if you remember, the White House came out, and that was kind of a big bragging point. We got this 1 year delay. Well, in international politics, a year's like that. It's nothing. And it's the same as, we look at nuclear deals with Iran. I mean, everything is actually pretty quick. So now I think the White House is scrambling because they understand that if these 5 are released back into the wild, so to speak, they're going to be, in essence, these almost spiritual leaders of the Taliban and of al-Qaeda because they survived the big Gitmo.
And, Congressman, on top of that, Captain Herridge had last week an exclusive report that 3 of the 5 already said overtures to say they're going back into the fight. And I imagine it's just a delay for all 5.
Yeah, of course, and that's the issue with Gitmo at large. I was in Guantanamo Bay just a few months ago. All of these people are going to go back. These are the worst of the worst, including these 5, obviously, that were released. It's like kind of the Power 5 out of the Taliban.
Right.
And they're going to go back and be these spiritual leaders now saying, I survived. They may not pick up a rifle on the battlefield, maybe they will, but they're like going to be the Medal of Honor recipients in World War II that went around and sold war bonds. That's in essence what these guys are going to do for the whole movement.
All right, so that's not good news, but we have at least a short delay, hopefully a longer one. All right, meanwhile, let's talk about ISIS. It turns out, according to the Washington Times today, our bombers have held fire on the Islamic State in 75% of their chances. So since the new year in 2015, for the first 4 months, 75% of the bombing runs have left without dropping any bombs because we can't find targets on the ground.
Yeah, this is directly opposite of, the opening stages of Afghanistan or Iraq in 2003. This is not how America needs to be fighting wars. The problem is we don't have the ability to develop the intelligence assets on the ground because of the president's promise of no boots on the ground and everything else. So I fly reconnaissance. That's what I still do with the Guard. And developing these targets to bomb and to take out is a long process. And by the way, sometimes there's only windows of 5 or 10 minutes where you may have an opportunity to drop a bomb on a truck, for instance. If the White House is having to make the trigger pull decisions or high up in the Pentagon, you sometimes lose that 5 or 10 minute delay. So you're in essence waiting for a truck that's going to be on the road for an hour as they're taking a cross-country trip. And so in many cases, these fighters that we're hearing are having to hold their fire and missing real opportunities to take out America's enemies.
And we got, turns out, too, the Free Syrian Army, or whatever they're called now, that we decided to train, are deciding not to be trained by us because we're not letting them go after Assad, which was their main objective. So that army that was supposed to fight for their own country doesn't want to fight. Fantastic. And we're not doing it either.
Well, that's right. The Free Syrian Army is a two-front war. They're fighting Assad, who's a brutal dictator, and frankly, the creator of ISIS in the Middle East. And if we had an hour, we could go into the explanation of that. But they also fight ISIS. So on 2 fronts, they're having to basically defend, in essence, a free Syria. And in many cases, the United States promises to them have been broken. And a lot of them are saying, hey, I don't want to be in this training camp because I could be back defending my family.
Wow.
And that's why in some cases they're leaving. It's a tragic situation. You can't solve ISIS without solving the problem in Syria.
Congressman Adam Kinzinger, a two-pronged threat. He also fights wars, is now serving in Congress. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
You bet. It's great being here.